Today's guest is Leslie Hare, architect, artist, ET experiencer, Buddhist, and former nun. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So we understand that you have a house that you would like to have a reading on.
Yes.
And there's some history behind the house, and don't tell us what it is.
My lips are sealed.
And ask questions along the way, or give us information that would help us open more doors without giving us too much.
Okay. Do you want to know how long I've been in the house, or you want to wait? We'll see what comes out.
Okay. All right.
Are you in that house right now?
Yes.
Okay, this is the house we're talking about. All right.
Yes.
So give us a little background of you being in the house, how you got the house.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting story. That how I got the house is actually a story about manifestation, and it's pretty cool. I started moving in last August, so I've been here a little less than a year, about 6 months or so. It's taken me a while to settle in. I'm still settling in. One thing I'll say about it is, in terms of manifestation, is I did not expect to find this house. I wasn't even looking for houses when it just popped up. And it has everything that throughout my life, I've thought, oh my gosh, when I'm 84 and I'm retired, I'd like to be this little old lady with a big sun hat and a garden, that kind of thing. And all these, an artist studio and all that. And this house has all of that. And I was not expecting it. And it just kind of went boom, here it is. The history behind it is another layer of story, which I don't want to give away. But I've really enjoyed having space. So we were joking earlier about being ADHD, and part of my practice as an artist is I do a lot of different things. I work in a lot of different medium, and this space allows me to have a room for different activities, for the computer work and the fabric design or the canvases, or a room to draw in. So I feel like I'm in heaven. And the yard is really important too. I've been able to reconnect with earth and the yard work and gardening and nature, and having lived, in Atlanta for about 40 years off and on, but having lived in cities a lot, it's just really nice for me to have so much nature around.
May I interrupt you for a moment?
Sure.
What I'm getting, because I believe that everything has a consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
A home, an area, everything, because everything is energy, everything has a consciousness. And that house has been there for a very long time, from what I'm getting a feeling of. And that house has its own consciousness. Now, Abram has talked about how animals, that we are paired with animals because an animal, let's say a dog, and I'll take our dog, Jack, for an example, that Jack put out that he was waiting for us. He put that out. And there's a whole story of how we went to that particular breeder, because I've never gone to a breeder to get a dog. They've always found me, and they've always been strays. And so this was the first time.
Wow.
But there's a whole story behind that. And the house is doing the same thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that house has been waiting for you. And I'm not just talking about your energy or someone like you or someone with similar qualities as you. That house has been waiting for you just as long that you've been waiting for that house. Yeah. And so this is a merging basically of consciousnesses, because I wholeheartedly believe that a home, and whomever has been living in the home, puts their energy into that place, it becomes its own consciousness. And so I think there's been a perfect pairing there.
I feel like I'm on the verge of tears, because that's how I feel. I feel at one with it. It's real interesting, because I've never felt joy just exuding from the space I'm inhabiting. And it's almost like it's not possible for me to not be happy here.
That's lovely. I get the image that it's a strange image, so I'm not sure if I'm even on the right track, but I feel like what I see behind you now, the room that you're in, I see something else superimposed on top of it. Like an older building was on that property, and this has been upgraded so much that it's different. but the soul of it is still there. Like I'm still seeing, like if I were to walk in it, I feel like I would go into a time slip.
So there are two.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Also, sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also getting a lot of images of the Civil War
That's what I was picking up too.
coming through
I was
there.
picking that up too. Yeah.
It may
lot
have been
older.
a house at one time. It may have been a house, and I'm talking Confederate soldiers. It may have been a house where they were
Possible.
cared for.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
It does, because I get, especially when I walk around in the yard, it's a large yard, a large lot. And when I walk around in it, I pick up on layers of what I feel. I pick up on a lot of Native American too, which
Yeah.
ties into the name of the subdivision and the street, which I don't want to give away, but it references that. But also I'm told that out this way, this side used to be a county road. So it could be that the house was built in 1970.
So there's an older place there.
The part, yeah, I think because there was a county road there, it's very likely there was a completely different structure on the site or nearby. But also, the part of the room I'm sitting in was an addition where the previous owner pushed out the wall and the fireplace. So that could be where part of that overlay is coming in. But
Is this? Are you living in an area that where the Confederate soldiers would have been? A state?
I don't know the history, but it's central Alabama.
Okay, there you go.
So it's very likely. I'm not aware of any like historical markers or anything nearby.
Is there a well on the property somewhere?
Not I know of. No, not a, I mean, there
I'd
may
be interested.
one.
I don't know why that popped into my head, but I'd be interested in seeing the old, scans of the area.
Well, things have
Yeah.
happened. So many things have happened since then. We could be picking up on the energy of that area, and certainly not that particular house.
Yeah. I also get a Victorian, like it's multiple. There are multiple layers of time frames that I'm feeling, and Victorian is also one of them that comes up strong.
I'm going to go out on a limb here because I'm picking this up and it's pretty strong that you've actually lived on that land before. And that's why you have that really strong connection to it. It was home to you and you loved that land.
I'm picking up the Native American now.
I was picking that up as well.
So I think you probably had a life as a Native American.
There
on
you
that
go.
land.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes
that makes
sense. That makes sense.
I'm going to go ahead and throw out the zinger. I lived in this house as a child.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
We were the first, it was built in 1970, and we moved in when I was about 9 and stayed until I was about 14. And it was a very powerful time. You know how those years when bullying starts, it's when you start caring, especially as a female, about how you look and how you're perceived and how you make friends. And it was actually, those years were very traumatic for me, but I took solace in this large yard and I would go play. And there's a particular area over back in this corner where I would literally feel like I was a Native American and I would go build little huts, and little lean-tos and trees. And another part of the layering that you might be picking up on about where I'm sitting is that my tree house was right back there, right behind there.
Nice.
So it was a really rich time for me. And I had never, we had left it, I guess, 55 years ago. 50 years ago, and I'd never been back to see the house, even though it's not that far from where my parents lived in later years.
How did you find it again?
Well, here's the manifestation part. I have a dear friend whose mother passed away back, I guess, about a year ago now, and I was trying to arrange with her to bring her dinner one night. We were talking about, let me just bring some pizza, drop by and say hi. So anyway, she texted me her address, and she said, now, be careful because there's another street by this name in a different part of town. And I don't want you driving 30 minutes in the wrong direction. So be sure that you go to the one that I live on. And it's like something started itching in my brain. Oh my God, that's the street we lived on when I was a kid. Could that be? So I go into Google Earth and believe it or not, I could not find the street view of this house. And I couldn't remember the house number. And I recognized some of the houses, like, yeah, that's what the neighborhood looked like. I kind of remembered it almost like it's been in a time warp in that it's hardly changed. In 50 years, the trees have gotten bigger. And that's about it. And in fact, the gentleman who lives across the street has been here the whole time.
Wow.
It's the same gentleman. He's maybe 90 now.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So I decided it's like the next day, because I couldn't really find it. It became this burning desire. And I was perfectly happy living in my little apartment in Southside. And I had an errand to run down in that neighborhood. And I thought, well, you know what? Here, I'm going to figure this out and resolve this. I'll drive by tomorrow when I'm on the way to where I'm going. So I recognized the streets and everything. And would you believe there was a for sale by owner sign in the front yard?
Wow.
And I was like, at first, I didn't even notice it. And I took some photos to send to my brothers just to say, hey, look what I found. And then I realized after I'd been kind of lurking for about 10 or 15 minutes, I saw the sign. And I thought, that's just weird. And I was of a mindset that I would never own a house again. I was done with owning houses. But I have a friend who's a realtor. And so I called her and I said, what do you think? Should we reach out? So she gave him a call, gave the owner a call. It turned out he hadn't even put it on the market yet. He had put the sign out 3 days before.
Oh.
Just to see if anybody would be interested. And so he wasn't expecting a call, but he let us come see the house. And it was a few days later. And they had made some pretty significant changes. So it's in many ways, it's quite a different home, redo the baths and the kitchen and all that sort of thing. But it was really like just going on the property was like stepping back in time. And it just felt so cool. So we thanked him for showing the house. And I'm thinking, oh, it's way out of my budget. I started looking into it and it's like, yeah, there's no way I can afford this. And one morning I woke up and it was like this little voice just said, go look at your budget again because you're calculating something wrong. I use this program that projects through my retirement and everything. And it turned out I was counting my expenses twice. And, I was looking down the road like in 20 years, oh, there's no way I could pay that. Well, all of a sudden the numbers worked and called the guy back and said, what are you actually asking for it? And it still seemed like too much. So I said, well, thank you. But if you decide to budge on it, let me know. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I spent 3 weeks scouring the entire city to see if I could find another house. And it was just nothing else happened. And then one Saturday morning, he called and he said, since we don't have it on the market, we can make this adjustment in the price because we can just use your friend, the realtor, and not have to pay another. Anyway, long story short, 6 weeks later, we closed.
Wow.
And my realtor friend even said, I've never had a closing like this. There was no problem. The inspection went great. It's like everybody behaved. Everybody was nice. And it just went so smoothly. And this was the 5th home I've purchased. So it was pretty phenomenal. It's like it's just meant to be. And so I finally finished moving in late September. And it's just been fantastic. Yeah, it's like I thought it would be another 20 years before I could even hope to have this kind of space and peace and freedom with my time.
Oh, that's so great. What a great story.
So nice when everything is aligned.
Yeah.
And goes so smoothly like that.
Well, what I find interesting about it is I'm sure we're familiar with things like law of attraction and manifesting and mindset and everything. What struck me about this is it was passive. Maybe I'll say it that way, in that it was just a dream that I held kind of out in the ether. And it wasn't like I would get up every morning and visualize me in this space and yada, yada, yada. And it just happened from this real gut level, heart level wish of how I wanted my life to be. And it's really like the universe just took care of it. And I wish I knew what the secret was because I'd share it.
At some point, you let go. I think that's the secret. I think that's the hardest thing.
You let go and allowed everything to work for you.
That's the step I mess up on all the time.
Yeah. One thing that happened, so my mom passed almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. I have a lot of grief about it and a lot of healing that needed to happen. And I've had a really great therapist. And she's been harping on me about breaking out of a lot of layers of codependence and the CPTSD and unlearning the scripts and the mindsets that I learned from my family. And that was the letting go process. Leslie doesn't have to do that and that and that. That's not me. That's someone else's projection onto me. And that's been several years. That's been about 3 years in the works. So it's really been cool for my therapist to kind of celebrate with me. Her concern was, are you sure you want to live in a home that you lived in before? Won't it bring back all these bad memories?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And one of my brothers even mentioned that it's nostalgia. For me, it kind of comes back to what Sue was saying earlier. It's like, no, this is my house. It's like it was my house then. I just didn't happen to be the owner. I don't feel like any spirits lingering or anything like that. There's no heaviness that I pick up on. Now, I have a friend who's very sensitive who stays here sometimes, and she talks all about vortices in the house and people moving in and out. And to me, it's kind of like, well, that's cool if they do that. But it's interesting that it hasn't been triggering. It's been like a big release.
Sounds like it's been on your terms.
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
That's great. That was my first thought when you were saying that you lived there as a child and had experienced a lot of trauma there. I'm thinking in my mind, oh my gosh, because I would be so triggered, and I don't think I could do it because I would be so triggered. But good for you for taking control of that and saying that is not what's going to be my life. I am going to take this house and remember the good things about it and make that my new life.
Thank you. It's
Probably because it's not even the second time you've been here on this property,
Right.
probably.
Yeah.
And it's, there were other places where we lived where I enjoyed playing in the yard, but there's like this particular corner back there. It feels like I could go there and sit and ground. And it's like,
That was your safe place.
yeah.
That's so cool. What a great story.
Very nice.
It also feels like, I'm not quite sure exactly what age you were, but I think somewhere between 3 and 5 is when your creativity kicked in,
Mm-hmm.
when that started to open up for you.
That's true, because that's when I first started drawing. But I'm reminded that when we lived in this house, this was where I first took a painting class when I was maybe 12 and first started really drawing kind of seriously. And the interesting thing that also came with that was my mom always wanting to see what I was doing, which felt very intrusive to me because that made it feel like I couldn't just be creative because somebody was always going to be looking over my shoulder and judging. And so I would try to hide sketchbooks and things. And she would always find them.
Like hiding drugs.
And that was, really one of the ways that as a child, that I dealt with the trauma, which was, there was sibling conflict and just generational conflict. And I'll keep it very generic. And this probably ties into my neurodivergence, but I would dissociate and the imagination would just take me, that little hut back there. I was Merlin. I was a shaman. I was so many different things in that little hut. And drawing and artwork transports me also.
If this isn't too personal, I also feel as if your mother was very jealous of you and very jealous of your talent. And that's one of the reasons why she always had to be nosy and see what you were doing and put that judgment on it.
It's so hard to say that, but it's so true. And I grew up thinking that I had to be less than because she painted also. She was an artist. We would go take a class together and she would look at me like, yours is better than mine.
So there's that competition there too.
And it was crushing because it's like, I don't want to hurt you. This thing that I love doing is hurting you. And how am I supposed to process that? And so it really, I think it's why I struggled with the idea of being an artist. I wanted to be an illustrator from the time I was in my early teens. Architecture was not my choice. When I told my parents that I wanted to go study and learn from Maurice Sendak, who's the Do you remember the
Stories.
book, Where the Wild
Where the
Things
Wild
Are?
Things Are.
He was my idol. That was what I wanted to do. But the message was, no, you need to make a living. The underlying message is, we don't think you're good enough to make a living on art.
Wow.
Subconsciously dug in there. And architecture was supposed to be, well, I'll get to draw some, which nobody does anymore now. It's all on computer. But I was never happy with that. So there was always this underlying frustration of not being able to pursue a dream or do what came naturally to me. And I think it's so important for parents to have faith in their children, being able to make those decisions about how they're going to spend their lives, how they're going to make a living, because long story short, they were concerned about finances, about me being able to earn a decent salary. But the struggles I had as an architect, because I was so miserable, was that, you know how when you're unhappy, you do things to compensate. So whether it's going out to eat or buying a new piece of clothing or a piece of furniture or something just to help you feel better, between that and mental health struggles that came along with it, by the time I left that career, I was as broke as I would have been, as my parents would have imagined me being as an artist. And so it left me with this feeling of, wow, all that was for nothing. That's not true. I learned a lot of skills and there were some good things about it. But now, it was about 6 months after Mom passed when I woke up one morning. It's like, oh my God, I can paint now. There's nobody to make comments and nobody to judge and ask me why I'm spending my time that way. And as I've taken classes and worked and shared my work, I've gotten such positive feedback that I have to be really careful to focus on where I'm going and where I am and not focus on what happened in the past, because it would be real easy to get caught up in bitterness and should haves and could haves. And so now I just look forward.
Can we pull up some of her art?
You see that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. I see Picasso and Chagall and lots of influences.
Let's see. She's got some really good stuff in here.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Oh, so we've got a segue here. The image there on the left, Terry, that's a space station.
That's exactly what I saw when I first saw it.
That's when I looked at that, I went, oh, that looks kind of familiar.
And that's a series that I'm working on. And they're tiny little paintings. They're about 8 inches. That's the only one I've gotten loaded onto the site.
Did you just load that one recently? Because I don't remember seeing that when I was on your site.
It's the most recent piece. It's probably been up about maybe not quite a year.
I got to buy that one.
I love that.
When the move came with the house, that became so all-consuming. And because I've got some pretty severe arthritis and fibromyalgia, I had to take the moving process really slowly. So I've been creating artwork, but I haven't uploaded anything onto the site in almost 2 years now. So there's a ton of new work, like this painting behind me.
I love that.
It's not on the site yet. And there's, in what used to be the dining room, the old living room from when I was a child is now a gallery.
Nice.
That's
So
fitting.
it's just full of paintings. These are all watercolors.
Beautiful.
And that's, I would say, probably my favorite medium. I've been working in acrylics a lot lately, but watercolor, I think in an earlier conversation, we were talking about elements, and Annalisa, I think you said, you picked up on my connection with water.
Yeah.
I love your work.
That's really, really, really good.
Really pretty. I love the color, the way you let the paint kind of go where it needs to go.
It's really meditative for me.
I see so many things. Like here, like when I look at this one, the first thing that comes to my mind is out of body experience.
Yeah.
Almost everything I paint is interdimensional. Is
Okay.
layers.
Ooh, this one's nice.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Wow.
Imaginary worlds, and seeing, as you were saying earlier, talking about overlays of space, because that's internally how I experience the world, is having all the feels.
Wow.
How can someone find your website? What is your website name?
It's leslie-art.com. And you just need to be sure and spell Leslie correctly. It's Leslee art.com.
These are beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
The two dark green paintings, actually, these were done 3 or 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they are memories from when I lived in this house.
Oh,
Because the area off to my right has been developed in the last 50 years, but there's a power line right of way, and there used to be timberland down that way. So the one on the left is, the title of it is actually Fire Trail, because we would get on our bikes and ride down the right of way and go through the just rows and rows of pine trees with this carpet of pine straw, and we just go get lost in the woods.
Wow.
so unique. I've never seen anything
wow.
like it.
Thank you.
Look at the little guy on the bike or the unicycle.
Oh, cute.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Maybe
and look at
Watercolor
the
textured.
far bottom right-hand corner, right above
What?
her name. Yeah.
What do you see there?
I see a face.
Oh, do you?
Either
It's
that
a
or
shell.
someone sitting in a UFO.
I was wondering if you had painted your pod experience.
I have done a number of sketches and drafts, and there's a canvas in one of my studio spaces right now where I'm working on a full-length portrait, and it's very intimidating for some reason.
Wow. Yeah, one of the reasons that I wanted to get into art is because I want to create that, my pod experience, and also to paint the beings that I have seen.
Yes.
These are so neat, Leslie.
Oh,
These
I
are
love
really,
these.
really nice. There's so everybody needs to check this out. There's some beautiful stuff here. She's got abstract and landscape, nature, beach series, different series. Oh my gosh. I mean, you could get lost in here. So,
Wow.
I've been doing
Yeah.
a lot of florals that I need to get photographed and loaded.
yeah, very, very nice.
Thank you.
So Leslie, LESLESLEE dash art.com.
Yes.
Check it out.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Love it.
A question about if you're picking up on getting back to the house and the ET connection. The friend who's visited and picks up on entities in the house basically says they're my people. And I have a group that I call the crew. They're connected both to my Buddhist lineage through lifetimes and also the ET experience. So I'd love to know if y'all are picking up on anything about that.
It's a lineage that you haven't been introduced to yet.
Oh,
There's a new line apparently that you'll be learning about.
okay.
The only thing I'm getting is that, and I don't know who was giving this to me, it is part of your crew, is that there's going to be more of a connection and more of a direct telepathic connection, but it's not going to happen for a while. Now, a while could mean anything because there's no time for them. I'm saying 3 to 6 months before you start to open fully, because now this is coming directly from them, is that there are a lot of adjustments emotionally and mentally that you need to do right now, because there's symbolism in unpacking slowly and over a long period of time, over months.
Thank you, because there's still so much to do.
Okay? So there's symbolism in that, and that you're literally unpacking yourself.
How
And
cool.
so what you're doing is you're doing this with care, and you're doing this with intention, and also with a little bit of fear lingering. So when you're doing this, be mindful that you are unpacking yourself. You are unpacking your emotions. You are unpacking layers of yourself that
Thank
you have cut off,
Wow.
that you have stuffed down. And so as you move through adjusting, and he's not talking about adjusting to the house because that the house is waiting for you. All right. This is a fit that belongs. You belong there. This is more of an emotional and mental adjustment that you have to make within, because this is a big change. This is a major life change for you right now. And you're on the precipice of redesigning yourself. and redesigning your identity
Yes.
and who you want to become without all of the restrictions that you have been living under for all of your life. Like you said, things have changed a lot since your mother passed away.
Right.
This is a time for you to blossom. And there's a bit of trepidation about that because it's new. Not that you can't do it. It's new. And so this is why you're just taking your time. And so once the emotional and mental adjustment has taken place and you settle in on your new design, your new identity, things are going to start opening up.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
Because they're around you, but they're waiting.
Waiting. I was going to say waiting.
Thanks, because that's what I've kind of been picking up on, that right now I need to focus on basically getting set up because, how do I say this? I know where I'm going and it's huge. And there's an entire platform that I'm to develop that has to do with my story about dealing with trauma, dealing with the mental health challenges, which overlaps with the psychic abilities, the empathic abilities, the family trauma, all of that, and how I've worked through it and used the art. And as I understand it, all of that is working together, is going to work together to a point where I can use it to show others how we can move through the pain, move through the blocks that we've learned, and learn to love ourselves and express ourselves without fear.
Wow.
I know I'm going to be here in this house, but there's still a little fear of losing it somehow. And I'm trusting that, because I know where I'm supposed to be right now. And I can see, it's kind of like I could see the little old lady in the yard and ended up here. I can also kind of see where all of that work is going to go, but I don't know what the steps are yet. So the unpacking, thank you for that, Sue and Terry, because it's felt very important to do it gradually and deliberately and to not beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's taken you 6 months and you still haven't unpacked the basement? Because 40 years as an architect, that's a deadline-driven profession where you have to finish things on time and you have to push and push and push and push. And it really nearly killed me. And so I'm having to unlearn all of that, what we used to call it type A personality, where you just, you have to excel, you have to do more than anybody else and prove something. This is my exercise in walking away from that lifestyle.
I can tell you the feeling that I have, and it's a strong one, is that you're not going to lose the house. And the only way that you would not have the house is if you decide not to have it.
Good.
Leslie, this is a work in progress. I mean, I'm kind of in the same situation that you are.
Right.
My ET family, they're waiting for me as well. And they're waiting for me to continue to declutter all of the trauma that I've been through. You got to get rid, and you're probably never going to get rid of all of it. Yeah, I still have a lot of residual stuff that I'm trying to clear out as well. So I'm figuratively unpacking myself. So
yeah, they're so patient with this. It's really amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
They just hang around. It's like
We're not used to that.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because all three of you have ET experience far more than I have ever had. When we talk about the ETs and the different species and the different planets they're coming from, that's different than the afterlife, correct? That's different than when we talk to people who have passed on and are different or in a different energetic space?
Yes, I'm going to say it is different.
I mean, they may not be as physical or 3D in our dimension, but they're still physical, right?
Yes, they're still physical, but they can come and go too. They can be physical or not physical.
Interesting.
When we see planets, nobody can inhabit these planets at this point. We have, in this reality, we also have parallel realities to this reality.
Right.
That's how it is with them, in my opinion, is that they live on these planets, but it's in a different dimension.
Okay.
And rule of thumb, number one, everything is energy.
Right.
So when they come through, to me, they come through in a slightly different way than people that have had a physical life and come through. But it's really kind of all the same because it's all
similar.
energy.
That's what it feels like. It feels like what you guys are experiencing is similar to what we do as mediums reading past loved ones. But because Earth is a playground of sorts, nobody's actually from here.
Right.
We come here to do whatever we do.
Right.
We can be part alien.
that.
We can be,
Yeah.
we can be what we, what as humans we see as alien can also be someone who inhabits a vessel here.
There was a young man that I came across, I met a few weeks ago. He had a session with Abram, and Abram told him he was from the star system, what do you call it? Arcturian?
Arcturian.
Ex-Arcturian.
And that he comes from a race of grays who decided to come here to have a physical life for whatever reasons. It's more to help people, to assist people in their own growth. That was the feeling that I got. But yeah, I mean, all of us, all four of us right here, anybody who's listening to this, they could be from whatever star system, whatever planet, another galaxy, whatever. And the past life that you just came from could have been as an ET.
As an ET,
Right.
right. Okay.
Exactly.
And you're coming here to have this physical experience.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean just one time. It could be 100 times. Because it's all about the evolution of the soul. And I was getting some automatic writing the other day, and what I was being told was that a lot of times that when someone comes here as an ET for a physical experience, it's not only their physical experience and what they're experiencing, but their ET family is experiencing it also. And so it's growth, if you want to call them a species, because there's so many different ones, and there may be, like us, offshoots of, let's say, the Palladians. There could be very numerous. There could be numerous different styles of that race.
Right. That's my understanding.
And what we experience here, they also experience for the collective, for the whole, for them to grow as a race.
That's fascinating.
Wow. Okay. That's making perfect sense to me, because I've got this family up there on this spaceship right now, and this ET being that is laying in this pod that I'm a part of became a human because I wanted to come down here and help people. And so her soul split off into hundreds of different pieces and came here on Earth to have all of these lifetimes in the past, present, and future, all simultaneously. And all that data that I'm collecting for each of my bodies here is going up there. Oh, wow. This is okay.
So you've got a CPU and a pod up there.
Yeah.
Setting up a
Wow.
database.
Oh my gosh. I hadn't even thought about that. That's
Of information.
yeah. Wow. Okay. And I'm not the only one up there that's doing this. There's many ETs that are in their own pods up there in that spaceship, and they're all doing this. So they're collecting all this data from all these probably millions of lives. What are they doing with all that data?
What's the point?
And just to throw in there, not all grays are bad.
No.
Right.
There's
How about reptilians?
it's just like here. You have the
Same
what
thing.
we label as good and bad. I
Same
mean,
thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is all super new to me. And Abrams sent me down a rabbit hole since he said,
Oh, right.
Melissa,
Sure did.
think Orion. I'm like, what?
we need to have another discussion with him about that.
He's going to laugh
Yeah.
at me because I'm just like, what do you mean by that?
He'll give you just nuggets of information
Just to get you going.
to get you going, because it's not going to mean anything if he tells you everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to find out for yourself. You have to go down there yourself in that rabbit
I've had
hole.
so many readings with people who say this happened in your past life. And I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I have no connection to it because I haven't remembered it myself. So yeah, I totally understand why he did that. I don't know if he understands why my brain tends to like obsess then.
He does that to me too, and I know when he's doing it.
This week I emailed Sue so many times, like, I'm a reptilian. She's like, you are? I'm like, well, isn't that what an Orion is? She's like, you might want to look more.
I don't know.
Terrified that I'm reptilian because I heard reptilians are bad.
When I think of reptilians, I think of the Japanese movies with the
Yes, Mothra.
Oh, yeah.
With the scaly dinosaur-looking thing.
Godzilla.
Godzilla and Mothra.
Leslie, do you want to share some of your ET experiences?
Yeah. Wow.
I want to know about you being a nun.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah. I want to hear that
Do
too.
not overstep that or get that.
Not to sidestep or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. How far back to take this? So I'll try to give a nutshell version. In 1999, I had an experience that Sue, you know about, because that was what prompted us to, or when we went to the Raymond Moody workshop
Yes.
years ago, that was so wonderful. That I had an experience. I was asleep at the time, but it was like a near-death experience. And it was like a near-death experience in that there was this explosion of white light, but there's also an ET connection. And I was taken on this trip to see the whole universe and understand how everything works. Just like people say when they come back from having, been dead in a hospital for 15 minutes or whatever. It did something to my body because I remembered returning to my body and my life force starting from like the toes working itself up, and a point at which I could feel my limbs again and realize I was back in my body and feel, my cheek on the pillow in the bed. And eventually I was able to open my eyes and sit up and get up out of bed. And it was a Sunday morning and my son was 3 years old. There were things to do when you've got a toddler in the house on a Sunday morning. But my body tingled and vibrated in ways I had never experienced for like 2 weeks. It was weeks before it calmed down. And I was determined to find out what had happened. And I'd never heard anything about near-death experiences. I mean, Reader's Digest stories from when I was a kid about, the white tunnel and all of that. But it's like, what is happening? And this was kind of pre-internet, so it's not like I could get on Google and start researching. I was combing bookstores, and basically I was trying to find out what could be the source of these. It was like just waves of bliss just flowing through my body spontaneously. And the day after 9/11 in 2001, I was in Atlanta and I went to a kind of new age bookstore to get some candles for home and thinking there's probably a prayer circle here, because it was a place that does classes. And I go there and there's not a prayer circle going on, but I bought my candles and I'm just about to check out. I'm literally at the cash register and I look down and I see this little poster of a white guy dressed up like the Dalai Lama. It turns out he was about to give a book talk there in 15 minutes. So I went and I sat, and as it turned out, I was the only person who was there. So it turned into a one-on-one question and answer, and I described the experience that I was trying to process that I'd had. And long story short, I started going to the center in Atlanta and learning more about it because there was something that resonated. And I would go to the little library section and flip through the more advanced books, and there were these descriptions of the sensations I was having. So I thought, oh my God, this is it. So as far as the nun part, well, let me say first also the Buddhism. In Buddhism, we use the term imprints to talk about things that we remember or we just know because we experienced them in another lifetime. So there was this familiarity about the whole concepts of reincarnation, karma, the basics of how we conduct ourselves morally. All of that was like, well, of course, yeah. So I was so excited to have made that connection, and it felt like a homecoming. And also the ritual and everything was so familiar to me and just came so naturally. When I hear people talk about struggling to meditate, I don't get it, because just like I can dissociate, I can go in really deep really quickly. So that was great. The nun part came because of my incredible enthusiasm, which probably ties in with the autism, the hyperfocus, the ADHD. It's like, I got to have it all. I've got to do it in the most intense way that I can. And I have to express this level of commitment. And so after 2 years, I requested and took vows to be a nun. And I actually really enjoyed it. People who would know me now, if I say, well, yeah, I was completely abstinent and vegetarian for 9 years. What? Like, yeah, and it was worth it. And I really thought I would be doing that for the rest of my life, because I think I was picking up on the vibe of me teaching and sharing information, but without getting too specific, because it turned out that the group that I joined is pretty controversial. There were some things that started happening that I felt were not in alignment with the teachings, that there were inconsistencies with the way things were being run, decisions were being made. And I also realized that I was never going to actually be able to quit my job as an architect and teach, or go help lead one of the centers somewhere across the country. So these frustrations were coming up, and a lot of the trauma response. So the way I reacted to my family trauma was, everybody's familiar with the fight or flight or freeze. I'm a fawner. So my history of learning to appease everyone to avoid a traumatic experience made me perfectly susceptible to that kind of almost cult-like environment where you're supposed to give everything and make your life all about that. I was not managing it well. I was not standing up for myself. I was not setting boundaries. I was being taken advantage of on a day-to-day basis, in terms of whether it was how much money I was donating or how many hours I had to spend doing things for the group. And I started having dreams about other entities. And this was before I had any idea about an ET connection. But I had a dream one night about meeting a being who was clearly a Buddhist Lama or teacher from the past, because he had the robes and the hats and all the ceremonial garb. And all I knew was that it was a teacher from the past who was not part of the tradition I was in. And they were very strict about sticking to the lineage. And as I processed that, it became clear that somebody was nudging me that I needed to move on. This was great. The Buddhism was wonderful. Yes, I had found something that was familiar and useful and lovely. It's like I'd used up what I needed. I'd gotten what I needed from that, and now I needed to move on. And that was a huge conflict, because it's like, oh my God, I took these vows for life, and I was supposed to be a nun until I die. And it was a real struggle, but I finally decided to return the vows and return to what we would call a lay lifestyle. So that whole episode was a series of things that had happened to me many times through life, of having a really abrupt change in lifestyle, entire circles of friends appearing and disappearing. And things similar to that have happened since then a few times. And I've come to believe that that's also tied in to part of the ET experience that like Terry and I are having, where we're here both to learn and to share. But some of the lessons are rough, because we have to experience pain and frustration and all the emotions that cause people problems, so that we can process it and be more genuine in whether it's setting an example or teaching or helping and healing.
What is the role of a Buddhist nun?
Well, I was teaching meditation. I was teaching a children's meditation class and a basic meditation class at the center. And I would, like, if we would have a retreat weekend, I would do the cooking often, or, and helped with administrative things and making flyers for when people were coming to give talks and things like that, and helping plan the lead teacher do a tour to talk about the books and that sort of thing.
Did you wear the robes and shave your head?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been liberating.
Oh, you know what? Let's see.
Did that group start to become a little cultish?
I'm just going to say it. Yeah. I'll be writing about it and blogging about it.
It's good that you recognized what was happening.
It was difficult. And I was warned when I first started attending the group. A friend called me and said, you know what, I've been to that center and I know a little bit about them and this, and this, and you probably really don't want to get involved. It had to do with differences in philosophy and beliefs about what were valid teachings. Buddhism is similar to Christianity in that there are different sects and there are really strong opinions about who's right and who's wrong. And it happened that the group that I was with went in a direction to oppose the Dalai Lama. And that became very controversial. And as it turned out, I left maybe a month before they started actually protesting on the streets in New York.
Oh, wow.
Against him, which I could not have dealt with. Because for me, the appeal of Buddhism is that the true philosophy of it is not sectarian, is not, it's
a philosophy, not a religion.
Yeah. I mean, well, it can be practiced as a religion, but
It's
ideally, in my mind, it's a philosophy. And if you understand the teachings, then everything becomes fluid. And that's much more in line with my interdimensional nature. And that there's nothing permanent, there's nothing concrete, everything's energy, like we say. And so because that group was becoming more and more rigid, I think that's why I had to leave, because
when it turns into a religion, then you're cooked.
Yeah.
When you start criticizing others in ways that they were being criticized, that's
Control.
critical.
Yeah.
We are actually over time. So if you want to talk about your ET experience and the pod and do like a condensed version,
Yeah, right
go
now.
for it.
Okay, let's see. So it was during a hypnotic regression session. Terry mentioned having done that. I tracked down the hypnotherapist because, again, I had a housemate who said she was hearing noises coming from my room at night. And I'm like, well, I might sleepwalk. And she said, no, this sounds like a dentist drill.
Ooh.
Okay. I don't have a dentist drill in my bedroom.
Not doing that.
Or anything like it.
Oh, okay.
And I tracked down this fellow. I basically wanted to know, am I being abducted at night? What's going on? What is this? Instead of finding the answer to that question, the session threw me into a previous. Actually, I did 3 or 4 sessions with them, and every one of them took me into a previous lifetime that was alien related. One was Buddhist related, but in this one, I was a being. I am a being who's actually amphibian and almost mermaid-like, and in a sort of glass tube. My perception had almost like a steampunk feel to it, but I was suspended in a fluid, and a friend and I were working on the project was to transfer part of her consciousness into baby Leslie on Earth, or fetal Leslie on Earth. I think it was actually before I was born. And similar to Terry's story, it was that, to come here for the experience and to play some kind of role. And during the transfer process, I've never been able to figure out what it was, but something went wrong. And I started to panic because I realized that the fetus I was going into was going to be born 30 years before we were targeting. So I'm like, oh no. Somehow I perceived that it was the timeline where as a child I would experience, the assassination of Martin Luther King and Kennedy and all of that. It's like, no, this is not right. But I was in it. So my understanding is that this group, they're almost like family. And that entity, I call her Agnes, is still up on this, I'm going to call it a ship, but it's huge and vast. And I think, Terry, I don't think she's still in the tube. I think once the transfer happened, they kind of finished the process and then went about their lives. but I have this strong sense of connection to that group, and it's a real deep homesickness.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that.
like I can't wait to go home.
I know. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So it was interesting to me that to learn from the hypnotherapist that there was another person who'd had a similar pod experience. And that was how Terry and I met, which I think
Oh, wow.
Terry talks about in another episode.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating that the imagery we each have is so different. And I would love to know if that imagery comes from what we like in terms of appearance, or if they're really two cultures, if you will, that are that different, that are doing the same thing.
It's my understanding that the beings that I am connected to are the Pleiadians, and they are humanoid. They're very tall, and they have longer arms than we have and longer fingers, and just the most loving beings. It's just unbelievable how loving they are. I don't know. You've just brought up a question. I mean, the last thing that I remember when I did that regression was seeing these parts of the soul or the consciousness or whatever it is going down to earth. And that was the end of it. I just assumed she's still up there in the stasis, having these experiences and being like the hub to all of the souls.
Right.
Maybe, she's the one who's collecting all the data that's being sent to her through all of the lives that we're having. That's the feeling I get. So, but I do believe that there are other beings out there that do this same thing. There has to be. I mean, I don't know though.
I think it's cool to think that that implies that that's a technology that will become so commonplace.
But I think it's really cool to think about that the data that she's collecting while she's lying in this pod is not only helping them understand humanity, but also helping them as well. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm really grateful to have met you due to this, because I was just at a loss once. I was going crazy. Trying to figure out, did I just dream this? Is this just, when I went to go see him and he said, yeah, I have heard of a story like that. I know this lady, and, I'll get in contact with her and see if she wants to meet with you. And I was just beside myself. And then when we got together and started sharing our stories, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one.
That we should even be in the same city.
Yes.
That's amazing.
To find that.
And you went to the same person. That's
yeah. Well, it was obviously
like somebody
destiny.
designed that.
Yeah, it was obviously destiny that we meet each other. That was just a big validation for me that what I experienced was actually real. So just fascinating.
Wow.
But I've never heard another story like it. Have you?
No, it would be interesting to put it out there. And
putting it out there.
Yeah.
Anybody out there have an experience like that we would love to meet you.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, because we're not the only ones, obviously.
I'm sure we're not. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
This has been great.
It's great.
Lot to think about.
Lots to think about.
And if you want to get a hold of Leslie, her website is leslee-art.com. If you would like to get a hold of Annalisa for a mediumship reading, you can go to our website, mhc20.com, and go to the tab about the chicks. And same with Terry. If you would like to have her speak at a meetup group or something online over Zoom or whatever, same place, go to our website and go to the tab about the chicks and get her information. And if you would like a reading with me, go to www.mediumunplugged.com. You can also use mhc20.com to reach me also. So, Leslie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a joy and a pleasure.
For me too.
I'm so glad. I just love that piece behind you.
Your artist.
I keep looking at that. It's so beautiful. All right, everyone. We love you. We appreciate you.
Too.
And we will see you next time.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.